I just hung up. I said it. I said everything I wanted to say. I'm Corey, 26 years old, office worker. I met Mia at a blind date and it was love at first sight. She wasn't that interested in me, but I made a big move on her and we started dating. We dated for about a year and got married. When we were dating, I didn't feel any strong emotions from her because we didn't live together. From trivial things related to housework to important things, Mia's opinion was absolute when it came to things that needed to be discussed. So it was no longer a discussion. In old-fashioned words, she was like a devil's wife. If I tried to express my opinion, even a little, she would glare at me. At that time, the theme from Fight Without Honor and Humanity replayed in my brain. It was really scary. But for some reason, I still loved her and wanted to be with her. Now, I wonder if I was a submissive one. There were times when I just didn't like it. Mia used to call me a bore whenever I invited friends over or when I visited my in-laws. He's a boring guy. I'm bored with him. She introduced me in a degrading way. When I invited my colleagues from work to my house, she even annoyed my colleague by saying, "Is he boring at work too?" I was embarrassed and wondered why she would say such a thing. So I watched a lot of comedy shows and studied how to talk. I even took notes on how to make my episodic talks more interesting. I tried various ways to make Mia laugh so that I wouldn't bore her. Basically, she would respond with a curt or I felt a sense of accomplishment when she would occasionally laugh. My efforts were paying off, or so I thought. However, Mia still introduced me as a boring guy. Every time I visited my in-laws, she complained to them in front of me. So my parents-in-law, who had been polite to me at first, began to treat me more and more roughly. "When are you going to get that promotion, Corey? Even if you're a boring guy, you should at least make a lot of money." "Isn't the reason why Mia often comes to our house because you are not worthy of her?" "She always comes here, even on weekends." "If you didn't have problems, she wouldn't come here so often." Even though my in-laws have said such terrible things to me, Mia doesn't care. On the contrary, she sometimes blamed me together. The reason why Mia comes home so often is because she wants to skip housework, and she takes me with her on weekends because she wants me to drive and she wants to drink. Otherwise, I wouldn't bother coming here with her just to be abused. If I refused, she would get mad, so I have no choice but to come. Yet, I was still in love with Mia back then. She told everyone around me that I was a boring guy, but she stayed with me because, well, I thought it was because she had feelings for me. However, that thought was shafted by a certain event. "Mia, I need to talk to you." "What is it?" "It's the current term, but I can't get my bonus." "What?" "Because of the epidemic that broke out this year, our company's business is down." "What are you doing?" No, it's not my fault that the bonus got cut." "You were only working for a company that cut your bonus, right? You're not only boring, you can't even do your job." "What? I really fucked up." "What? Our marriage was a disaster." "Oh my god. Because, if you couldn't make money, I wouldn't be with a boring guy like you." Something popped inside me. I don't know why I fell in love with this woman. "Let's go get a divorce." That's what I said when I find out. Mia was very surprised by the sudden divorce news, but soon she returned to her usual mood. "Yes, that's great. Bring me the divorce papers right away." I immediately took the divorce papers and handed them to her. She didn't expect me to actually bring them to her. Mia, who hates to lose, filled out and signed the divorce papers on the spot. "Go ahead and file it right away. I'm going back to my parents' house." With that, Mia threw the divorce papers to me and left the house. Mia went back to her parents' house with only the bare minimum of her belongings. But she probably thinks I'm still in love with her, that I'll probably apologize in the end. so that's why she left most of her belongings. I immediately filled out the divorce papers and filed them. Then I filed for a transfer to a sales position at the company. Mia had told me that I was not allowed to transfer or work alone until now. Probably because she didn't want to lose someone to drive to her parents' house every weekend. I was avoiding a sales job that required a lot of transfers, but the pay was better than what I am getting now. Most of all, I didn't want to live in this house or area. Within a few months, my wish was granted smoothly. I was transferred to a regional sales position and moved to a company dormitory. I packed up Mia's belongings and sent them to my parents-in-law's house, moved out of the apartment I was living in, and moved to the countryside. For the first time in a long time, I was living alone. I can take a bath when I want and eat what I want and eat the food I like at the time I like. I now spend my days drinking beer after work and watching my favorite YouTube videos till midnight. Unlike when I lived with Mia, I can spend each day peacefully and stress-free. One day, Mia called me to see if a package had arrived at my in-laws' house. "Hey, what are you doing?" "What?" "All the packages have been sent to my parents' house." "Of course, it's natural, because we've divorced." "What? Did you really file it? Who told you to file the papers right away?" "I filed them right after you left." "I can't believe it. I'm going home right now. I won't allow you to divorce me without my permission." "You're the one who told me to file it." "I didn't expect you to take it seriously." "Well, I don't care if you do or don't." "Oh my God." And with that, I hung up the phone. Sure enough, I thought it was a good thing that she was so pissed off, and I enjoyed drinking my beer. A few hours later, Mia called again. "Hey, what do you mean you're moving out of the apartment?" "Well, we're divorced, so it's none of your business, right?" "Don't be ridiculous. Where the hell are you?" "I live far away from there." "What? Don't run away from me." "People like you make me want to run away. I've got a lot on my plate. You deny everything you do and you don't respond well to anything I say. You're a stay-at-home mom, but you skip housework and go home to your parents all the time. You force me to drive when I'm tired from work on my days off because you want to drink. Being with you is boring. I can't breathe freely when I'm around you. I wish I could pat myself on the back for putting up with people like you. Don't call me anymore. I'm a stranger now. Divorced. See you later." I hung up the phone. I said it. I said everything I wanted to say. I felt so much better. Of course, Mia called and called again, but I ignored them all, blocked them, and blocked the calls. Later, I got a call from my former department at work telling me that Mia had stormed into the office. I guess being dumped by me must have hurt her pride a lot. They were trying to force me to tell them which regional department I had been transferred to. When the employee who answered said she couldn't answer because of personal information, she lost her temper as usual. She threw her heels at her. Mia was seized by security guards and taken away by the police. Well, she got what she deserved. Meanwhile, I'm doing well in my sales job, as it seems to suit me. And maybe it's because I've been working on my speech and talk skills in order to make Mia laugh. If that's the case, it's probably the only good thing that came about our hellish marriage. Now I'm living happily in a new place with a new girlfriend. She's very gentle and very different from Mia. We respect each other's decisions and have a great time together. I'm thinking of getting married after a few more years of dating. Thank you for watching to the end. How'd you like today's story? If you enjoyed today's story, please subscribe to our channel. See you in the next story. My wife was having an affair. She said, "There's someone I love. I want to marry him." The divorce papers were suddenly presented to me. The other party was her boss at the company where she worked. My mind went blank at the sudden revelation. We'd been married for almost 20 years. What had all that time been for? Various thoughts flooded my mind, but more than anything else, the first thing that came to mind was my daughter. We had a daughter, Alice, who had just started high school. What would Alice think if she heard? What about custody? I had so many things to think about that it was difficult to sort out my feelings. My wife seemed to want to divorce me as soon as possible, and she tried to discuss it with me. I said, "Okay, I'll get a divorce. Have you told Alice about this?"
"I'm going to tell Alice now. I will get custody of my daughter, and the three of us will live with her new father."
I was angry at my wife for saying that she would take my daughter so matter-of-factly. I said, "Wait a minute. Why are you making this decision on your own?"
"Of course I'm going to take her. I'm her mother, and I'm not going to be a single mother. I have good income, and the guy I'm remarrying to is my boss, so he makes a good salary."
"I want custody too. I'll raise Alice myself." In the end, we couldn't work it out alone. After the two of us couldn't work it out, we decided to fight for custody in a meeting with a lawyer. My wife moved out of the house right after we started talking about divorce. She's now living with her boss, with whom she had an affair with. I never expected my wife to have an affair after she turned 40. Alice seemed shocked to hear about the divorce before her mom left home, but the next day, she ate normal breakfast and went to school as usual. Is she taking it easy? What did Alice think when she heard that her parents were getting divorced and that her mother was having an affair? I kept thinking about what I could do for my daughter and what she needed right now. While I was thinking about all of this, the day came to discuss the custody battle. The lawyer asked me a few questions. He said, "Mr. Dane, I heard that you rarely attended your daughter's school events." I attended most of her school events. When my daughter was in elementary school, my parents and my parents-in-laws were there, but there were many times when my wife was the only one who didn't show up. I see. How about housework? What about housework? He didn't seem to want to help at all, or even to do it himself. That's quite the opposite too. I did most of the housework. I made my daughter's lunch and I cooked dinner. My daughter even helped me. My wife would lie on the sofa and say she was tired from work. When the food is on the table, she's the first one to sit down and opens a beer. You'll have to ask my daughter to find out which one of us is telling the truth. The lawyer glanced at my wife with a look that said it was not what he had heard. My wife, perhaps backed into a corner, suddenly made a surprising remark.
"Alice would rather live with us, because the man I'm going to marry is her real father."
My mind went blank at my wife's outrageous statement. My lawyer must have thought this was a bad idea. "Let's call it a day," he said. The first meeting was over. Alice is not my child? I couldn't believe it. I took a DNA test, but my wife was right. My DNA did not match with Alice's. Oh no, I was shocked. I was shocked that my daughter, whom I cherished more than anything else, wasn't even my own child. And this proved that my wife had been in a relationship with her lover for more than 16 years. When I pursued this point at the second meeting, my wife confessed everything. She told me that the affair partner was married at the time and that he and my wife were in a mistress relationship. My wife was also dating me at the time. When the child was born, my wife thought it was my child too. However, my wife secretly had a DNA test done. At that time, she found out that the child was her partner's child. The affair partner and my wife continued their relationship after we got married, and since the adulterer is now divorced and free, they decided to get married. The adulterer is happy to hear Alice is his biological daughter. The affair partner suggested that the three of them live together. Both my wife and the man she is having an affair with are too selfish. I felt nauseous as more and more facts came to light. After I came home, I told my daughter the truth. She was shocked to learn that she was not related to her father.
"What, do you think I'm not your daughter?"
my daughter asked me. I was shocked at first too, but soon I realized it didn't matter much, because Alice has always been and will always be my daughter. And I will always love her as a father. I will continue to love her as a father.
"How can you say that with a straight face?"
My daughter looked a little embarrassed and said so. She had a smile on her face. I thought more and more that I couldn't give my daughter to those guys. Neither my wife nor I were willing to give up custody. I wanted to live with my daughter at all costs, so I insisted on my own will. I can do the housework as I've always done.
That should be no problem. I love her 100 or 120% as a father. That's why I should get custody. The lawyer's expression clouded. He seemed to feel that I had the better side of the argument. Then, as a last trump card or gamble, the lawyer said, "Let's hear what your daughter wants to do." I was so happy to hear that. I was confident that I had raised my daughter with love and affection, but she and my wife were also good friends. I rarely saw them fighting, and they often went out together on weekends. I felt uneasy. We had no idea which one of us Alice wanted to live with. Then the discussion with my daughter began. "Then, Alice, which one of us do you want to live with?" "Can you tell me how you feel?" I want to live with my father." "Alice, you mean with your real father, right?" "What? There's only one father for me. Just the one who's here right now." "Alice, why? Don't you want to live with your mother? Don't you like your mother?" "I do like you, Mother, but not as a mother. How should I put it? Like a friend? I mean, she's not that good of a mother. But my father used to tell me to look at the good in people, not the bad. I tried to see the good in my mother. She was good at playing. She used to take me to interesting places. She also had a good taste in clothes, so it was fun to go shopping with her. So really, she was more like a friend than a mother." "And what do you mean by friends?" "As a mother? As a mother, you should have done more housework. I wanted her to come to my school events. But you were taking advantage of the fact that you both work, and you left it all up to Dad, right?" "I've never eaten my mother's lunch. But in my case, my dad's, it wasn't like we were a father-son family. And I had a mother and a father. But you fell in love with someone else, didn't you? And you always put your own feelings first, didn't you? You, Mother, can live without me. But Father will be ruined if he loses me. That's how much love he gave me as a parent. That's why I'm going to live with my father." The wife was not able to say anything back to her. The lawyer who was on my wife's side also had a bitter look on his face. I was impressed. She is indeed my daughter. I would get custody of my daughter, and my wife and her lover would pay alimony and child support for the affair. After the meeting, I went home with my daughter. "Dad, I hope you will continue to be good to me as you've always been," my daughter said to me. Tears naturally welled up in my eyes. I was crying, but she laughed and said, "Oh my God, you can't go on like this if you cry like that," she said with a laugh. "Yeah, we'll be fine. Even if we are confronted with painful truths, we can spend our days smiling like this. I can be sure of that. I will continue to love my daughter as I always have, or even more than ever." By the way, about my wife, although she remarried her adulterous partner, however, after living together, their dislike for each other became more and more apparent. And since they don't have a child, they divorced after 3 months. In the end, it seems like they were only attracted to each other by the convenience of a casual relationship and the immorality of adultery. It's a lonely thing not to know true love.